Hi, traders. I'm Dale. Traders call me Coach. I'm with my associate and master trader, Mike Venezia, today. Mike's out taking care of his horses, so he bets on more than markets. This was it's in his DNA from his family. How are you today, Mike?
I'm doing well, Coach. A brilliant personal segue, if you will. I will say something that with horse racing, it's not really the horse per se. It's in the blood. Everybody could do the diligence on how it's quite a story. Everybody has one, I know, but a lot of that resonated from these principles are analogous. It is what it is. I'm looking at it on the equine side, but I started off. I didn't start. I grew up in Long Island. I didn't start off in the fields. I started off, in
At
suburbs.
off-track betting places.
That's exactly what it is. The bottom line is the same thing. I knew what to do early on. I'm serious, and I saw a lot of the only way I was allowed to go to the track was if my father pointed out the negative, and there were a lot of negatives. Very few survived, especially when it's a daily. You're gambling on a daily basis, and you
You're
know
day
what?
trading.
Those stands in the 70s and 80s were filled with 40, 50,000 people a day. You didn't have trading. You didn't have legal gambling. Besides lotto, it was the only form of legal gambling. My point being is I learned early on, and I'm not here to pontificate. This comes from the heart. After, forget about 26 years of trading. This comes from seeing where this resonated. Money management, luck, momentum, skill, awareness, no ego, timing, patience. Now you can look at every different screen. Your neck will hurt. You could blow yourself up faster than trading with all these different simulcasts and tracks. So, obviously I'm cognizant of what's going in the market. It's my first love. If you had a horse or TGH on a proverbial island, I'd throw the horse in the water and have TGH forever. So
hopefully it could swim, Mike. Your dad was a very famous jockey in New York, so I'm sure that had something to do with it. Although I don't know. I mean, he was accepting the danger of being up on a thoroughbred going what they go 70, 80 miles an hour at times.
Well, they go fast enough, but this is another point.
You just muted.
Dad was a champion jockey and was actually illiterate.
Okay.
He grew up. We'll get to the specific trading. This correlates, by the way. I don't have any into what we're doing, and I was never allowed to go, and I was only, he lived through me vicariously, which was high education, being a professional, being a gentleman, and so forth.
And making sure his son had a better life and had the education he didn't have.
Well, it certainly did. And I'm hoping to continue that. You know what? But I learned early on what to do. And it all full circle is I'm here. Obviously, I know what's going on. I'm actually trading well because with the VIX this low, I know that if I have a winner, I can either let it keep going. And rotation is, from what I see, besides these blow off tops for the short term and maybe Tesla and NVIDIA, i.e., as we said, the biggest moves come at the end, and basically they're bouncing a little bit from what I see. And the other stocks that should participate are not bouncing as much. For example, some oils, major
oils down,
some other cyclicals, if you will, that should be. Even if the techs are having some sort of a dead cat bounce, the other one should be showing some sort of life, which leads me to believe that there's a little bit more distribution.
There's some buys coming up in the metals. I actually nibbled a little today.
The only one coming up
for at least a trade, I bought BTG. This is a pretty nice pullback. I told people to be patient. We may end up taking out this low, but I think there's a rally at least back to 390 on that. And I bought what did I buy? This one, Endeavor.
Wow, we always waited to buy that.
Look at that. Yeah, look, it's under the March low. It could go lower. It was my first entry. It's a feeler.
Well, you're going to be wrong before you're right in this type of trade. We all know that.
And remember, I was talking about, I know this is one you like to trade,
FSM.
gold and Goldfields. And
Oh,
we were up here and gold was up big and it wasn't doing anything. I said, it's going lower. And, you know, could trade down to these previous highs, 13 bucks, maybe 12. But this looks like a correction to buy eventually.
look at that Head and Shoulders, huh, Coach?
Yeah.
Right there, beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, this is the time we should be shorting instead of making the hard money, which we did successfully, but noted something like that, and even like an AU, which you know we were trying to catch the parabolic move. We again made the hard money, but this is the time where you should probably lay into it a little bit. Like I said, the only options because we prepare. You tell me what the topic is, or we prepare for a topic before we come on air, and ask me if I'm aware of option sweeps. The only ones that I've seen. And by the way, I am a holder of GOLD, the stock. I'm down in it.
Okay.
Is FDX. That's the only one I've seen come up.
So people are buying calls in Freeport?
That's correct. And they're not trying to make it, and they're not trying to catch a short-term bounce either.
What expiration? Where are they going out to?
They're going into October and November.
Okay. Okay. So that's also a pretty good you know, emphasis on copper. You know, this is why I think the market's going to correct, Mike. No one's talking about the banks anymore, but I look at the regionals, and to me, it looks like they're going to make another new low.
Yep.
You've had one drive, two, and the next low could be around 28 is what I'm guessing or projecting, and that actually would be all the way back down to the COVID low. That's where we were at the bottom in COVID.
That's horrible. They
Okay.
had their chance. Now, you know, even technically, and even feeling, you know, outside of it, they had their chance, and I wouldn't argue.
And also, when I look at things, you know, the beneficiaries of it, XLF chart basically looks the same except for the magnitude of the drop. And then I look at something like best of breed. Goldman looks heavy to me. I think we're going to break down. That's a weekly.
Wow.
But at all the banks, and I think the banks are important, aren't they? The central nervous system of the economy. And if we,
I think if eventually something starts to leak in and make sense, and I'm not the guy that says we're going to go. Those would certainly be the ones that are going to show it eventually, and it could get uglier. Those could possibly lead everything down.
That's what I'm concerned about.
That's correct.
Okay, so you know, they had every chance possible with this blow off in the markets. You know, the 20% rally in S&P, and you know, it's mainly been. But there has been some broadening out. You know, I looked at things like Deere, and Deere has had a great run. I think you got into the cyclicals last week.
Yes, I did.
All right. A couple issues that it was a cat was also something that you liked.
I actually reversed on my ATI, which I actually made a nice trade on, but I didn't actually buy the cat. I actually bought the ETF. I don't want to be micromanaging these behemoths that make up this indice, this ETF.
Yeah.
And I feel that the theme is better overall than the individual stock. So I just took some, you know.
Okay, so I want our viewers to see this S&P chart. You know, we had massive throwovers in tech, like look at the NASDAQ. So the throwover in NASDAQ was all the way down here, tested it and blew off. The S&Ps just threw over last week and we're already back testing it and closes back under, say, you know, 4340. If it's back inside the formation, it's going to make it look vulnerable to me. Now, short term, I think we're oversold and that we could get a decent bounce. I don't think we're going to get a bounce to new highs, but we could try 44 and a quarter again. I'm
sorry.
Go ahead. I'm done.
Let's talk about when the bounce may come. Bounce, whether it's a dead cat bounce or it holds its, you know,
now.
We'll approach that if and when we get there.
I think
Uh,
we're set up now to have some type of bounce, or we're going to break down. So if the
Well,
market's
we
going
have
to
to, what
bounce,
day of the week it is. Today's what, a Thursday afternoon? A
yeah,
Thursday afternoon? We
yeah,
have to be aware of these Friday end of the day option expiration between 2 and 4 o'clock. This happened the last 2 Fridays, Coach. It happened with Nvidia 2 weeks ago. It happened with Tesla last Friday. They just ran up the Nasdaq, and the last 2 Mondays we imploded because they just scrambled to cover them. They made money on maybe, if you will, on, or at least they traded them on the equity. And so what I'm saying is tomorrow's the Friday afternoon between 2 and 4. You might see you're going to see a big move, maybe to the downside, because the crowded 4 o'clock, 2 p.m. rallies getting a little stale. So tomorrow's going to be if you have a winner going into that move, I would think it's going to be a little bit more. Today might be the bounce. Tomorrow might be the.
okay. Well, I mean, we start getting under 45.50. That goes to at least a yellow caution light for the
Right.
market for me.
Let's pull up a chart on Intel, Coach, if you have it, please. Do you have
Okay,
one?
first I wanted to ask you about plug. You still like it?
It's plug with speculation in at best.
Okay, put a nice
That
little
was
pullback if you still like it.
that again is the same position I would have as maybe the construction or the Caterpillar or Deere. If I
Okay,
like it, I am only going to if I like it, I'm going to trade I'll buy the tan, or I'll buy a couple of
wow.
I'll buy
So
the
AMD did the same thing as Intel's doing right now. Pretty
right.
big break in 3-4 days. So are you buying this dip?
I'd buy it for the bounce because the biggest moves are made. That is selling. That's selling. That is
Yeah,
not a rounded top where
yeah.
you want to start. That's a trading situation there. Whether or not it holds, yes, could it probably does. I don't know. It's very rare for it to have that move and then another V-shaped bounce. It's almost like a W. So I would, this is going to have that bounce and settle, and then the next move is going to come.
Okay, so maybe look for
Trade it.
some
It's the
kind
same
of
thing you could.
failing rally, trade it up to 34 or so, 35, and then look to sell it.
Uh, I think it depends on how fast the move is, Coach.
Okay.
It depends on how fast the move is.
Everything seems to be pretty fast. Here's Microsoft. Had a pretty negative down day. The high might be in for Microsoft. Just to fill the gap would be a huge trade, right? So if we rally without taking out this high, that would be pretty ugly. Here's Mike is buying our long Freeport. Maybe it pulls back to 37. Would you ride it out?
Like I said, I'm treating these best of breeds. For example, how often have you seen me trade an ETF, Coach? That,
Very, very rarely.
okay, appreciate that. And that being
Because you're a
every,
stock picker, you don't
well,
need an ETF
no, but
like
I'm
the
I'm
public.
sticking. Listen, it's cliche, blah blah blah. But I'm picking best of breeds at this point. It's still uncertain. I got a lot of things that I like are. I don't want to say on sale. I sound like a salesman, but you got to start somewhere. And it's just like your gold fields that probably has a little bit more down to go. I'm with you. So I'm positioning. I'm buying, of course, best of breeds. I get cliche, not to be redundant, but you can go back to the Intel chart or the AMD chart. It's bifurcated, as you said. Swing
Yeah,
trading is not that good. With the VIX abated and things making these type of moves in rotation, take some money off the table is a good smash and grabs. See where
yeah,
things settle, like in AMD, maybe it bounces 4%. Let it, the next move. I know you would agree that the next bounce or next move for AMD after it sits is probably going to be the next trend, or short-term trend, if you will. So let's wait it out.
yeah. Look, it almost filled that gap, Mike. So let's just say that AMD is foreshadowing gap fills. All right. So I just showed you that huge gap that we had in Microsoft, right? Which is way
Right,
down there.
right.
And if you want to talk about the mother of all gaps, I guess you have to go to NVIDIA.
I'm glad you bring that.
And
Hold on. Look at that
there
AMD
you
chart.
go.
Now,
Okay,
here is an example. You know, AMD and NVIDIA used to go hand in hand.
they're
Here
not
is a
today.
here, hold on. Here is a perfect example of Tim Fury relative strength
Yeah,
of trying to pick the top in the video when it was clear that AMD was. By the way, I did have AMD. I had a little NVIDIA, but clear that AMD showed the relative weakness from the bat. Then NVIDIA came back, and then Intel pulled back, as we saw. So the AMD was the relative strength first. You know, maybe you thought you were late, but that's the easier money is to trade the AMD. And you brought it up about the NVIDIA gap, and I'm glad you did that because that was
okay.
my next quote.
And then look at where the Microsoft gap is. It's all the way down here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying if we do have a rally, I'd be looking to be a seller on a rally, maybe into, next Tuesday or so. We'll see what
Well,
happens.
this is what we have as we speak. You could be biased in whatever manner you want. We have the banks, which of all charts we brought up have been the most precipitous or the most dangerous. Okay, that's A.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
the way, I'm not biased. As you said, I'm taking long term, they could do whatever they want. I wish the VIX would, go a lot higher. But until now, you have the banks, you have a couple of rollovers in Microsoft that are still can go either way. And you have the cyclicals, which still are underperforming. So what are we looking at right now? Best case scenarios, if you want as a trader, a dead cat bounce and some AMD. I don't think that's very positive at the moment. The good thing is the best acumen of mine is is very few will deny I'm a short-term trader and I'm a smash and grabber at this point. And that may be cheap. That may be cheap money, but it is what it is.
That's a nice pullback in AU, buddy. Maybe it goes to 20.
Yeah.
Just so that I know you trade it, so I thought I would let you know. So anything you want to close it with?
Okay. This is a week where actually Powell spoke yesterday. It's a Thursday afternoon now. We point up a very good macro and micro trades. Beware of tomorrow, Friday afternoon. I'll be back tomorrow, Friday afternoon. So, again, it's more of another cliche thing is get the trade view demo. This might be, it's also the last thing, seasonality to a degree, which by the way, I was never a believer in. I don't know still if I am a believer in, but the algos are aware of it. It's hold true, a lot of it. And this is normally going into middle of June and July, a poor time. And it usually starts picking up in, the middle of September, October.
Yeah.
So you asked me what I'm looking for right now. Nobody's signed on to hear me talk about what might happen in October. I'm more interested in what might happen, later in the afternoon. Until then, I'm going to look at option sweeps. That's what we started off with. And you know what? The option guys with big money, option guys are basically like insiders. Insiders and option sweeps, that tips me off. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. If they're doing it, I'm putting my eyes towards it. So I'm not trying to be a hero. We gave some good hardy, that sounds corny, stocks to look at. And you know what? Until then, if there's something comes up, I stop trading those, these micro caps, that trade, 200,000 shares. And I'm actually having a very good year establishing my rule of not trading stocks under $3-4 because you know what, I'm seething over something like an AMD anyway, which I know I can build in and sleep overnight if I'm wrong. Once again, I might be wrong before I'm right, but these other stocks, I can't be managing these I'm a major league manager and player. I can't be managing these NCAA, Division III moves that are wild. You know what I mean? No offense, but we're in the big leagues, coach. So we're giving you a big league picture. Until then, we'll see what happens.
And I'll leave our viewers with this thought. Don't bank on the banks. Have a great day, Mike.
You too, coach. We'll see you later.
All right, man. Great talking with you.
You too. Have a